Continuing on from my summer journal collection, these two are very similar. They are made with the same burnout velvet covers from a scarf, vintage scarf that I found. And this one is called Wild Rose and this one is called Bramble Rose. So I will go inside Bramble Rose first because I've got the tie already open. So if you watched my previous video featuring the overview of this series and also Shabby Rose Garden Tall Skinny Journal, it's got most of the details in there, so I'm not going to bore you by repeating them. This sweet little journal has a blush colored and ivory or cream journal wrap skirt that I've created with some gorgeous applique at the top. And so you just remove that and then go inside. Here's the stack of journal cards. It's a booklet, a sweet little girl image, and then a journaling card with one of Nikki's beautiful appliques on it. Isn't that just stunning? I love it, with the Alcyon lace in the background. And the wrap skirt for this one, that's the back of it. I just sew on the sari silk ties, beautiful vintage lace as the band, which you can see, and then this piece of pleated vintage lace that I used as the base. I believe that could even be lingerie, like a slip lace or something. It's just so sweet. And then some gathered lace, couple of rows of gathered lace, and then this applique. So that is completely removable. You could even use it on a different journal if you prefer. And this is the journal cover. So you can use it all on its own. How beautiful is that? So soft and luxurious to hold in your hand. Beautiful vintage buttons. I used ones that were all the same for this particular journal. And I left the tassels on the trim on the end of it because I just thought it made such a unique feature to the journal. You could cut it shorter, but why would you want to, right? It's got beautiful blush colored lace on the page edges, and the sari trim is from Sheila on both of these journals. Absolutely beautiful, and it looks like it's 2 inches wide. It's just gorgeous. Nothing like it. Hers is the most beautiful sari silk you can buy, for sure. So the name of this one, as I mentioned, is called Bramble Rose. A true wildflower rose has 5 petals, occurs naturally with no help from mankind. Generally prickly shrubs of the rose family as the raspberry, blackberry, or dewberry. And that's a beautiful journal card. So Bramble Rose. And then one of my tall tags in this vintage lace pocket. I've left them open because these tags are so tall, and once the journal is shut, they're not going to fall out. But I don't like to stitch the bottom because then you lose about a ½ inch of space. So I've got vintage wallpaper, vintage book page, stamping, a die cut, vintage music paper, and then the rose chiffon tag topper. And as I mentioned, this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful vintage lace on the page edges. So let's make sure I am in frame here. One of these journaling cards with the crinkled seam binding and vintage buttons. Beautiful, beautiful vintage lace. Cheesecloth, some vintage French book page on a tea-dyed journaling card. 21 pages, creating 84 page sides that can be journaled on. Some lined journal paper. This is from a really old kit. I don't know how, that must be 5 years old from when I first started journaling, I'm sure. Got some authentic vintage pieces in here. This envelope was dated 1940, and one of the Niagara Falls postcards. Just beautiful. Some stamping, a pocket from the kit, and then I've done some stamping on some circles and added these sweet little vintage girl tickets. Book page from a vintage book of Europe. This one is featuring the Rhine River in Germany. This I haven't stuck on there yet, but I will be. That will just be a little tuck spot. And that piece of digital images from the Peachy Paint kit from Raindrop Lila, as are all these, most of these other ones. One of the tags that I've created out of a scrapbook paper, some collaging, some texture paste stenciling, some ink embossing in the gold of a rose. Those are Sam Poole's stamps there. Some beautiful vintage lace tag topper and a vintage red button with some metallic embroidery floss. A pocket made out of some beautiful vintage lace, and I've just left it open, so it's actually a belly band going that direction. Journaling card made out of Edith Holden book page that I have distressed on the edges and backed onto parchment paper. Just some smaller lined journaling paper to be used, some Bible book page, some poetry by Emily Dickinson, and these beautiful washi stickers that I have. Another one of the tags that I created using Sheila's beautiful embroidered and sequined trim. Isn't that just stunning in that pink and the red together? Some avocado dyed lace that I've created, and then some artisan paper, just backed onto artisan paper. Used a swatch topper, and it just gets tucked into here. Just a lovely feature with potential for extra journaling space. Great way to use up these beautiful trims from Sheila. Some more stamping, another tag from the kit with some Swiss dot netting, and just backed onto cardstock. This page, there's one pretty much in each journal using this lace, and I think I got this at Joann's. I'm not sure. Either that or the vintage fabric store that I like to go to. Another envelope that I've created, and this is what I've done. I cut the hanky into 4 pieces, and then I just placed it on the flap of the envelope with the scalloped edge just overlapping slightly, and then stitched it down into place and tucked the sides in, and then added some beautiful blush colored appliques by Suzi. All of these laces, pretty much all of them, are by Suzi Oberman from MaryNotMartha, and just tucked some scrapbook paper inside that matches. And the initials on here are VG, so very good. Pink lined paper for extra journaling space, some vintage sheet music, and one of Suzi's gorgeous blush dyed pearl and sequin appliques. How gorgeous is that? And I've just included some extra journaling page for writing space. Lined journaling paper again. One of these sweet little cards. Just an adorable little girl, and I just backed them onto Tim Holtz. Some of those ephemera cards that you can get. Make it so much easier to do tags and journaling cards with. Some book page from French vocabulary and grammar. This is called Love's Labour's Lost. That is Shakespeare. And a beautiful washi sticker. Gorgeous pages. This is, I believe, is Bramble Rose from Lord & Taylor. Tea dyed, some of my avocado dyed paper. And then this is from England's Garden. It's a book that I've used. And I just love the images, the watercolor images, as well as the color goes perfect in with these pages. This is from Bella, one of the PaperCameo kits. And some beautiful vintage lace, some stamping, Stamperia. And then this paper, I don't know if it's called banana paper or what it is, but I got it from Brenda, who lives in Ireland, and she was a fellow admin member in our group BohoDaydreams. So it's very special to me to use it. Of course, I could have stamped it, I could have run it through the embosser, but I just chose to leave it because I liked the way it complemented all the colors that I've chosen. And July is the month that we're currently in. These are the beads that I've chosen to hang from the center. Gorgeous, love these. And then the little bow that I've tied with crinkled seam binding. I just love these colors of the beads. They're just so beautiful. Lots of writing space, lots and lots. And such beautiful lace from Suzi. Stenciling with texture paste, gold ink embossed stamping. The I think that is actually antique lace at the top. Certainly vintage, but I think it's pretty much antique. It's so fine, it's beautiful. Mother of pearl button and some metallic embroidery floss to create a bow at the top of that tag. Watercolor paper from the England's Garden book. Some of my avocado dyed paper, and then another one of these pockets that I've created being inspired by Marlene from Unique Liella. So this tucks in the bottom, and then these tuck in from the top. It's backed onto cardstock, and I included the tiny little pieces of vintage button card. You can check them out or do whatever you want with them. I just thought they were charming. And then I've got a tag in the top part here, and I left this top part open as well so that you could tuck some more, a taller tag in there if you prefer. Some stencil with the texture paste, and beautiful lace at the top, and a vintage button. So these just all tuck in here nicely. Just create interest on the page. And then this is a tall tag that I've added with a fussy cut flower and a tiny little note card here that just folds over, and I've just tucked it inside. You could just write a special note in there if you want to hide it, or just leave it there for decoration. This beautiful vintage lace, I absolutely love it. It's this pale blush pink and soft green, and then the stamping. This is from ChapterOnePapers, Antique Florals, and just some Tim Holtz cardstock paper. I didn't put tag toppers on everything because then the book gets so bulky. This is a tuck spot here. I'm going to add something. Another washi sticker, more stamping. This is from our master lace boards that we made at the Vermont retreat with some of Georgianne's beautiful vintage and antique laces and trims, and some metallic gold flake, gold and silver, and backed onto parchment paper. So I just added that in here as a special piece. Some vintage sheet music again, some pink lined paper for extra journaling space, and then here I've got a belly band made out of a die cut border edge piece, some of Sheila's beautiful embroidered trim, some French poetry, and then Edith Holden book page made into a very distressed journaling card with a poem on there by Edmund Holmes. Another, I think that's a fussy cut flower. That's fussy cut. My least favorite thing to do in journal making. Gorgeous rose washi sticker here, back of that book page. Book of poems. Here is a vintage doily that I've made into a pocket or a tuck spot with a tag and a journaling card for extra writing space. Beautiful image of the rose here, wild rose, and then one of these journaling cards with vintage French music, or sorry, vintage French book page, some antique trim in this very, very pale, beautiful green trim, green seam binding, and vintage buttons, some cheesecloth in the back there, and then a vintage, or a tea-dyed index card for the base. The other side of the book page, a couple more pieces of ephemera, journaling card, and a tag with a vintage mother of pearl button and some lace at the top, some stamping, one of these sweet little girls, and some of stamping that I've done on just a basic circle, just done some collaging. More lined journaling space and beautiful blush colored dyed vintage lace, and one more of my tall tags made with vintage wallpaper, vintage music paper, vintage book page, stamping, and a die cut, and then some gorgeous chiffon ribbon inspired by my sweet friend Sandra. You know who you are. You can get that in many colors, different options from Amazon or Hobby Lobby. And that is the end of this journal. And she is called, again, Bramble Rose. So I hope you like it. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you're inspired to try something different or just create something of your own that makes it so unique and special and feminine and romantic for the love of roses. Thank you for watching, and I hope you'll stay tuned for the next video. Bye for now.